Hello, today I'm going to talk about this new familiars list that I used to get top 8 in the Saturday challenge yesterday. It was a small challenge, but I think 44 players, so not super impressive, but I wanted to show off some of the new cards that the familiars deck has been adopting. Mainly Meeting of the Minds, which is 3 and a blue for an instant, Convoke, draw 2 cards. And then I'm not sure that this card is good, but the Cyber Cryptomancer can be used to like protect familiars. If you make the Faithful into a 1/5, it's really hard for the Kuldotha deck to kill. Like they have to use 2 burn spells on it. And you can also like flicker it to protect an Archaeomancer or something. Although in that case, you probably just want to flicker the Archaeomancer to protect it. So I'm not really sure if this card is good, but it did come up a couple times. And sort of talking about the rest of the deck, I'm pretty sure this deck is misbuilt, like to some extent. I wouldn't recommend that you copy this, but this was the list that I ended up playing. I can sort of talk about how I came to the conclusion to play all these cards. So I sort of started out like just jamming 4 Meeting of the Minds into the deck, or Meeting of Minds into the deck, and ended up cutting the Modern Age. I cut Prismatic Strands, Second Flicker, basically all the different flex slots in the deck. And the card is really strong. But the issue is that if you don't have the Modern Age in your deck, you end up flooding out a bunch with all these like raw draws that don't give you any selection. So I ended up having to add these back in. I don't know if this is good, but I feel like this is probably, like having some way to not flood out is probably necessary. And then because I'm not playing a combo kill in the deck, I have to play all these weird cards. I have to play Dawnbringer Cleric as an answer to enchantments, mostly for like makeshift munitions or against like Bogles or whatever. And then Lose Focus is a hard counter, because if my opponent ever plays a 5-drop and I don't have this card in my deck, like I can snap it, but I need a way to answer that sort of thing. And then I was sort of convinced to play this Cryptomancer card. I don't know if it's good, but still testing. And then, yeah, you just want to have as many creatures as possible. The thing that I ran into also is that I don't have a lot of turn 2 plays, and so the Modern Age facilitates having a turn 2 play that isn't a familiar, because not every game you're going to have a familiar on turn 2. And so just having something to do on turn 2 is definitely nice. And then as far as the sideboard is concerned, I ended up adding in, this is pretty similar to what I played in the showcase, or the super qualifier and the challenges last weekend, but added an inside out for the mirror match because I expected people to be picking up this deck, and I don't think they really did pick up this deck. I think there were 3 familiars pilots, but I probably won't be playing this going forward, but it's pretty good against the walls and in the mirror. And then one more thing that I noticed playing this deck is that this deck, compared to the other lists I've been playing, is a lot weaker against mono blue, because you don't have 3 Modern Age, you don't have a Strands in the main deck, you don't have a second Prohibit, and these Meeting of the Minds are really awkward when the opponent is like snapping all your creatures, killing all your creatures, and so that did come up a bit. I think going forward I'm going to try to work on that. The current list I'm working on is this deck list, which only has 2 Meeting of Minds. It's back on the combo. I can't recommend this deck either, I'm still working on it, but I would also say that this deck is probably misbuilt a bit. Alright, into the games. I also did make quite a few mistakes, I think, as you'll see. Alright, round 1. This hand is fine on the play. They're on Affinity. Just play the Modern Age on turn 2, discard the Flicker, I think, yeah. Let's see. Discard Chancery. And this spot I kind of wish this Meeting of Minds was Deep Analysis, because I could just flash it back, but it's okay. Drew Familiar, it's very nice. Go Preordain. Don't need the Faithfuls. Hold up Prohibit. And now if they don't play anything, I can cast Meeting of Minds on their end step with Familiar. I go ahead and counter the card draw. I don't know if this is right, but it feels right. I think the Affinity deck is somewhat reliant on their card draw resolving. So I preordain, find a snap for the Enforcer. It's not great, but keeps me going. So now I can go Arcanomancer, return something, and then I could cast Meeting of Minds, but I want to leave up the blockers. So I go for a preordain and bottom. They blast the Mancer, play an Angler, 3 cards in hand. I bottom again. So now I can't cast this Meeting of Minds on my main phase. Like if this was Deep Analysis, I would just tap out. But I can't cast it on my main phase because I need these Vector Gliders to block. If they attack with the Enforcer and the Angler, I think I'll double block. Like if they have a Gal Blast, I'm gonna need to work through it eventually. I draw 2 before damage. They counter unless I pay 3, which I can't. I trade. They draw 2. Munitions. Counter that. Top deck nothing. Definitely not a great spot because they have this loot. Even if their hand is bad, they can loot. Play Kenku. Another Kenku. Draw nothing, so. Could I live this turn? I could take 6, 7. No, I was just dead. Game 2. Alright, sideboard. I didn't really do anything special. I only have 3 Dust to Dust. So I brought in. I actually think I brought in a Negate because I only have 3 Dust to Dust. So I took out 2 Faithfuls, Stormbringer Cleric, Cryptomancer, Flicker, Snap, and then I brought in 3 Dust, 2 Revoke, and 1 Negate. I think going forward I'll probably play all 4 Dust to Dust. This hand is fine. I have a way to get white mana, a way to cast Dust to Dust. It's a bit awkward, but it's nice that I'm on the play here. If I was on the draw, this would be a lot worse. Now I just have to hope they don't have a Negate. I decided not to trim a Familiar in the board games versus Affinity because the Familiars are much stronger with Meeting of Minds in the deck. So I don't have a counter. I can just hold up the Prohibit for like a Wellspring or whatever. Which they don't have. They have a tap land. I'd love to go Drift for Ephemerate, but I feel like they have a Pyroblast. Could I have gone Drift for Ephemerate and pay it for Pyroblast? Or counter the Pyroblast? I think I could have. I think I was like wanting them to tap out off of their mana because they could have double Pyroblast or like Pyroblast Galvanic Blast, but so the Drift for Ephemerate resolves, I just win. I don't think I should have countered this. I think this is a mistake. Let's start with the Drifter. Yeah, see, this is why this is a mistake. Yeah. I'm still in a decent spot, but so now I'm at Meeting of Minds, 0 mana draw 2. It's pretty good. Still with my land drop, but not in the bad spot. So I lose the Ephemerate. I don't lose it, but I don't get the ETB. So play Drifter, cast Preordain, draw 2 for free. This card is pretty crazy when you have a bunch of creatures on board. Another free draw 2. Modern Age. Now you can see it sort of, I don't really have that much card draw left. Like I sort of ran out. And yeah, I can put something on top of the deck with the Mire, but having the Modern Age I think really helps when you've drawn a lot of cards to help you filter out the extra lands. I decided to exile their land instead of the munitions to take them off blue mana, and they concede. Game 3. This hand is medium, too slow. I keep this hand. This hand is okay. I really wish I had an exile effect or like a cantrip or something, but I don't think you could mulligan. Like I'm on 6 cards. I don't think I can mulligan a hand with a bounce land and like stuff to do. And like most of my draws are good. I have 3 Dust, 2 Revoke. All my cantrips are good. Fams are good draws. Modern Age is good. The only bad draws are like more drifters, arcamancers, and ephemerates, I guess. Cycle for a plains in case I draw a revoke, which I do. Shoot their land. So now they didn't attack, which means they have Metallic Rebuke. So I definitely want to keep that in mind. So they still have Metallic Rebuke. They thought about attacking, but this is a spot where I think Meeting of the Minds would be better as Deep Analysis, because I could just tap out. So here I snap the Frog, because if they choose to rebuke this, it's kind of good, because then I'm rebuking a useless card, well, somewhat useless card. And if they don't, then I can just slam a Drifter. I do wish this was Deep Analysis, because I just would have slammed Deep Analysis, and then even if they counter it, I have the flashback, but... Another option, I could have just passed and done Meeting of Minds on there, like Upkeep or End Step, but... I did not. They have an Enforcer. 3 cards left. Still no black mana. Slam Drifter. They have another Rebuke. So I'm kind of hoping they have a bunch of black cards in their hand. Arcamancer, grab Revoke. Gonna kill the Enforcer. So they Galblast the Mancer, which is fine. Go to 10. Draw 2. Oh, I decided to play around Rebuke, I guess. Seems to make sense. So now they have black mana. Definitely not a good sign. Get on to 8, so I'm in double blast range. Just not where I want to be. Play the Modern Age. Discard either the Fetch or an Island. I don't think it matters. I guess it might matter. I can go to 9. Decide I want the mana. So I can play around Rebuke again. Or no, I can hold with Negate, I guess. Yeah. Because I think I'm going to get got by Rebuke no matter what. Like my cards just cost too much mana. Counter their draw spell. Now these useless ephemerates. Like I have the Modern Age to fix the useless ephemerates. Familiar. Another familiar. Go ahead and draw 2. I can tap the familiar because I only need to block with one of them. And if they're choosing to Galblast the familiar, that's better for me than them Galblasting my face. Sort of out of gas here. I would have been super out of gas if I didn't have the Modern Age, though. I really wish these Meeting of Minds were Deep Analysis, though, in this game. That's sort of what I've been keeping my eye on, is like, if this Meeting of Minds was Deep Analysis, would it be better or worse? And in some matchups, like the counter-heavy matchups like this one, I definitely would rather have Deep Analysis, but against like Mono Red, you almost always would rather have Meeting of Minds. Alright, so I took them off blue mana, they play a Wellspring, and I draw a Drifter, so now I just have to hope they don't have a counter. Which is they do, which is very rude. And see, like, imagine if I had, like, on the previous turn, been able to flashback, Deep Analysis, evoke this, ephemerate it. They have Spell Bomb. They're doing stuff. It's kind of scary. Let's see what I draw. Arcamancer. This is okay. I mean, I can force them to pop the Spell Bomb, but they give me an Ephemerate, which I'm not sure why they did that. I mean, I have an Ephemerate in my hand, so it doesn't really matter. Even if they pop it in response, I'll just go Ephemerate, grab Ephemerate, and then Ephemerate, grab whatever I want, but I guess it doesn't really matter. So I exile my yard, I Ephemerate, grab Meeting of Minds, and this was a mistake. I should have let this exile resolve, and then cast Meeting of Minds so that I could be looping it every turn. It's a pretty big mistake, actually. For some reason, I didn't figure that out. So now they have 5 mana, so I'm going to counter unless they base 6. I just tap out because If they have a Pyroblast, they could fight over one of the copies and pay for the rest. And their deck also has a similar problem where they draw a lot of cards, but they don't actually have good selection, so... I choose to Ephemerate the Modern Age so that basically what this does is it turns my draw step into a sleight of hand instead of a draw step. Just because I get to choose between one of these two cards and choose Moldrafer, of course. So to mire back the Mancer. So next turn I have a good play if they don't have a counter. This loose focus is definitely a little awkward this late in the game. Not a huge fan of loose focus because familiar, like the whole point of the familiar deck is to drag the game on, but it's sort of a necessary evil, I think. And now with this prohibit, I'm feeling a lot safer because the main way I die is like a bunch of draw spells into Galvanic Blast. They have two Galvanic Blasts left in the deck, or like munitions, I guess, is also pretty good. Although I would hope they board that out. So now I counted Galvanic Blast, and now I feel like I win. Because they would fight over the Ephemerates if they had them. The way to fight over the Ephemerates. Now I just have to not deck myself. Because I don't have Flicker in the deck. But it shouldn't be too hard. At this point, I'm just taking game actions because it doesn't really matter what I do. Just going to counter everything they play for the rest of the game. Alright, they figured it out. They figured it out. Round number 2. Hand is okay. I have a turn 2 play. Some cantrips. Familiar is a nice draw. So now I was really hoping they had the small ninja, so I could kill it with the Dumber Cleric, but they in fact did not. And unfortunately I have to snap the ninja because if they, like, I can't give them free cards, and if I block with a familiar and they mutagenic growth, it's just disastrous, so I have to snap it. Snap is like weird card versus this deck because all their creatures are so cheap that it's not like a big tempo swing, but also you kind of need it to not just die, so they flash in a Sprite, so they have gonna replay their ninja, and I missed my land. This is real bad, really bad, and I can't play these cantrips because they have Spellstutter Sprite. Really bad. This is definitely a spot where Meeting Minds is better than Deep Analysis would be because I can cast it on their turn. So they attack, I block, they muta, I'm Meeting Minds in response. I know they have Spellstutter Sprite in their hand. So they counter, and then at this point, like, I have to get these cards out of my hand somehow. So I'm just gonna counter back, and they're gonna Sprite, and I'm gonna untap and be able to cast stuff. It's not great because I need to hit my land drops and I'm not doing it, but such is life. Play Modern Age. Discard. Preordain, cast Preordain. Block. Hope they don't have Muta. They have another ninja. Really not good news for me. I discarded the Cleric. Yeah, this makes sense because I only have one. So I could snap a Fairy here. Yep. So resolve my familiar. So I can go Archaeomancer, return Preordain, Preordain. I don't find anything. And now I can Meeting of Minds on their turn. After blocks. It's a bit awkward, because like if they snap one of my creatures main phase, I can't respond with Meeting of the Minds because I need to block with my creatures. So it's definitely really awkward here. But as long as I get to the block step, it's fine. Now I can just cast my draw 2. The Cryptomancer is not very good here. I'm not exactly sure what I'm supposed to do with it. So I cast a Moldrafer and hope they don't have a counter, I think. Seems to make the most sense. They do have a counter. So now I just cast this to make my guy bigger. I don't know if this makes a lot of sense, but like they have a Sprite, so I want to play around that. So I just main phase the Cryptomancer. And now they're just playing a bunch of flyers. Then the second they have an answer to this Vector Collider, I'm just dead. And even if they, like, eventually they'll just start alpha striking, and I'll die. It's definitely a problem with the only 2 Modern Age setup. So they Brent Barrow, and a Ninja, which means they get to draw 2 this turn off the Miscreant, which they don't, because they are leaving a Spellstuff Sprite. I can't cast the Preordain in a Sprite, because they know about this Plains, I think, because I picked it up with the Chancery. Like, very commonly you can, like, cast some crappy spell, even if it's your only spell, because the opponent doesn't know that you don't have a Muldrifter in your hand, but in this case they did know that I have a Plains in my hand, so. And I think I'm just dying here. Yeah, I'm dead. That's 6 damage. Definitely awkward. Game 2. Alright, how did I sideboard? I brought in Strands, I brought in a Negate, I brought in the -1/-1 card, what's it called? I forgot. Let's look. It is called Holy Light. And then I boarded out, let's go back 10 seconds here. Board out the Cryptomancer, Archaeomancer, Snap. I like to board out like a Snap on the play, and then a Cantrip on the draw. I don't know if that's good, but it makes sense in my head, so it is what I do. So I fetch. They don't have a turn 1 play. Definitely a very high variance deck my opponent is playing. So I can play the Modern Age with counter backup. They brought in a Null. Please do not bring in a Null if you're playing against Familiars. I mean, if you're playing against me, please do bring it in, but if you're playing against Familiars in general, do not do that. So they have a Sprite. So I know they have a Ninja. And I don't want to like turn on their Open Mind, so I'm just going to counter. So they pass. I get to draw 2 on the end step. Pretty sick. Another Familiar. They have a Sprite. They draw 2 cards. So now it's a bit awkward because I want to do Drifter Ephemerate, but if they have a Sprite, I can't snap the Sprite because they have 2 fairies now. So at this point I'm just like, fuck it, I'll do it. And then if they have a Spellstuff Sprite, I can just flicker the Drifter and the Island. It'll be fine, but they don't have anything. I guess they could have Spell Piercer. I don't know what they like, what their hand is. They must have a Ninja in their hand, right? They probably have more Elven Minds or Snaps. I feel like they would use this. I don't know. I don't know what their hand is. Definitely weird. It's just all lands. Open Minds. I'm just saying to negate. Like at this point, I'm just gonna fight over their stuff, slam my stuff. Should be pretty easy to win from here. Game 3 on the draw. Yeah, and as I said earlier, I usually bring in our Preordain over the Snap on the draw because it's easier to hit land drops. I say it's easier to hit land drops than a Milligan 1 lander, but and this hit is medium, but I think it's definitely in the keepable range. I just have to hope they don't have a Ninja on turn 2, which they don't, but as you'll see, they had kind of the nuts this game. Put in a Hacker, and now I can't play my Familiar because they'll just Sprite it, so I have to play Seagate Oracle. And picked up a land. I could have picked up the Dawnbreaking Cleric, but I need to hit my land drops or I'm going to lose. They snap my thing, make me go to clean up. Get in. Another Ninja. It's really a problem. It's really a problem. So now, draw the land. I can go Familiar. If they Sprite, I can counter back. I can also snap. Let's see, if I snap the Fairy Seer on top of these 2, the Familiar resolves. Play Seagate Oracle with Negate up. That might have been better than what I did. I think it was better. I think I try to save these snaps until after I have a Familiar in play, But I think it was better actually to snap the Fairy Seer, let the Sprite resolve, the Familiar resolves, and I can cast Secret Oracle with a blue mana on tap for negate. And then if they don't do anything, I can cast Meeting of Minds. I'm not a huge fan of this. Yeah, I would have countered that with mine probably. Yeah. Definitely a mistake. This matchup is really like hard to play. I do think Familiars is favored, although I don't think this version of the deck is favored. I think this version is pretty unfavored, with no strands. I have one strands in the sideboard, but yeah, so I had to choose between either Modern Age or Strands, and I can't cast the Strands, so I chose the Modern Age. Just push the Strands to the bottom of the deck. I have more ninjas. I'm at 4. Like if I had a Faithful this game, I think I'd be in a fine spot, but as it is, I'm just gonna die. So now they almost certainly have a Sprite. So I play Familiar, they counter. Can't do anything about that. Play a Familiar, Snap, Drifter. Attack, and then I have to block here because I die to any ninja, I think, if I only block the Sprite. They have a Muta, so I die anyways. Alright, round 3. Preordain, Secret Oracle. I top both, and they're on red. Preordain. Find another Preordain. I think I bought them both, right? Yeah. They find their land. Chain Lightning the face. Secret Oracle. Find Meeting of Minds. Usually when they start Chain Lightning your face super early, it's because they have a bunch of burn spells in their hand. So I find a Faithful. Tap out for Secret Oracle. Find Ephemerate. Just trying to throw as many bodies in front of the creatures as possible. So they discard a mountain to the blood, which means their hand is probably just all lands. Because I think they would have burned the Secret Oracle in their main phase if they had another burn spell. So I cycle for a plains, play Familiar. I think I should have played the Faithful first, because they can burn the Familiar in response to the Faithful, and then I'll have to cast this without gaining 1 life. Like I lose out on a life point because I sequence it this way. Slightly incorrect sequencing. They crack the synth, find a burn spell, find a bolt. Go ahead and bolt the Familiar, I guess. Should I choose to draw 2 in response because they did this on their second main. I prohibit it, and they can see. They weren't dead, but they were pretty dead. Alright, sideboard. I don't really know how to sideboard with this deck, like this version of the deck super well, but I had some ideas. So I trimmed a bunch of stuff. I trimmed Mulldrifter, Lose Focus, Meeting of Minds, Moratorium and Snap. Then I brought in 4 Hydroblast and Prismatic Strands. First hand I think was too slow, this hand is okay. I need to hold up the Hydroblast to play around the Kuldotha. If they don't do anything I can cycle. They go for the Kuldotha, I counter. I want to cycle before I cast Preordain, so I don't screw up the thing. I gotta go bottoms up. They have another Kuldotha, very strong, very strong. Play a Familiar, hold up Hydroblast. Synth, I'll counter that. They have a Raise. I don't know. I'm just sort of annoyed that the red decks are playing this card because I don't think it's very good. Like the sort of plan of this red deck is to play like 15 turns and like grind people out and like crack the sense for 3 mana and then like chain draw spells together, and destroying your own land seems a bit antithetical to that plan, but whatever works. Whatever works. They shock the familiar. I evoke a Molded Fear. Bit awkward, but I am only 1 card, so play the Modern Age, discard Dash Brands, snap a token. Not the greatest exchange, but it does lower the clock by a turn. So I'm just going to spend my mana and counter this. So draw, discard Preordain because I can cast Meeting of Minds on their turn after I resolve the Faithful. Swift Spear. So I feel like their last card got to be a land. I don't know what they would be holding. If they had a burn spell, they would have used it last turn, I think. Or if not last turn, the turn before on the blockers. Return an island. So now I have Strands up. They have a Bushwhacker, so I can Strands this. Nice. It's better than Hydroblast. Would have been there. Find another Faithful, play that out. I'm not dead, but I mean, I haven't won yet, but they do concede. They could lose to like Draw Spell into Fire Blast and Lightning Bolt, for example. Would kill me. Alright. Round, I don't know, 4, whatever. Sand is fine. Find the Plains. They're on red. It's good to be Faithful. And a Seagate Oracle. Definitely nice to be on the play in this matchup. They have Kuldotha, definitely their best opener. I have the powerful Seagate Oracle to counter the Kuldotha. So next turn I can go Familiar Seagate Oracle. Luckily I don't have another land. So I'm sort of holding off the assault here. So I have some bolts. Slam a Drifter. And now, because there are 2 land drops behind, I feel like if I just keep making land drops and making value plays, it's going to be pretty unlikely that I lose. So find a Prohibit. I could have played the Modern Age here. I'm going to play Dawnbreaker Cleric. I think holding a Prohibit might have been better, because they're not going to attack. They have a draw too. Pretty strong. Would have liked to counter that. Find a Familiar and Ephemerate. Top both of those for sure. Go and pick up a Preordain, hold up my counter. So now, as long as I can untap, I can play the Familiar, Ephemerate the Mancer. I don't even need to Ephemerate the Mancer, but now I have a counter loop. Play Modern Age. I think, yeah, I just discarded an Archaeomancer. Don't need a third one. Crack a Synth. And I'm just doing way more powerful stuff than they are. I've got for an Ephemerate, sort of a bait, because even if they have 2 burn spells here, that I can just replay this other Archaeomancer, return the Ephemerate, return Prohibit. I have mana for that, right? Yeah, because I have the colors. They shoot us for 1. I don't think I've taken any damage from these Kuldotha tokens this game, which is definitely the power of Seagate Oracle. Kind of funny. Searing Blaze. They play a land. Searing Blaze. I will counter. Flip a burn spell. I'm going to draw 2 in response. Find a snap. I can pick it up. So now I can just go next turn, Ephemerate the Oracle, replay Archaeomancer, pick up Ephemerate, return Prohibit. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Just counter every spell they play. They should concede now, I would assume. But it doesn't look like they do. The old 0 mana draw 2. Return the 0 mana draw 2. I don't know what they're doing here. I feel like they should pack it in, but they definitely do have the right to make me play it out. Just making some flyers. I just have to make sure I don't go below like 5 cards in my deck. Because I don't have the Mire in my deck right now. Assuming this is sideboard, I don't remember. Maybe it's not actually. This is a game 1. I don't know what I'm talking about. Because I have 4 medium minds. Alright. Alright. Game 2. As usual, I boarded out the Mire, Snap, Drifter, Meeting Minds, Loose Focus, boarded in, Strands and 4 Hydroblast. This hand is very good. Very, very good. Definitely gonna hold up Hydroblast on turn 1. I think my hand is strong enough that I can try to beat their nut draws. Because they don't have the Kuldotha on turn 2. I guess they drew the implement for turn on the second turn. Going to Hydroblast. Shocker Face. So now I have a familiar. I can hold up the Saiba. This is like definitely marginally better than a counterspell, but the counterspells are way more versatile than this would be. So. Secret Oracle, find a Faithful. Go ahead and fetch before I preordain. Find another white source. It makes sense to me. Yeah, their hand must be really bad. I feel like keeping these like medium hands against familiars is just not a good idea. But against most decks it's probably fine. So play out some dudes. Next round I want to go familiar with or Drifter with Hydroblast backup in case they have a Pyroblast. And now I get to kind of ignore all the creatures they're playing, so. Slam a Drifter. What do they say about that? They say I can see the game. Round number 5. We are 4-1 at this point. I'm on the play. This hand is, I think, definitely a keep on the play. Don't know if I keep this on the draw. It's a pretty weak hand, but turn 2 familiar is pretty great. Palestine's pretty great. So this is the mirror match, which I hate this match so much. I didn't play familiar because I was afraid they'd go like prohibit on tap, play their own familiar, but it's possible they just didn't have anything. So I play the familiar because they can't prohibit, and now I've countered my own, which I can use to counter some stuff, like that, which I will counter. Definitely want to keep them off all the creatures that I can because of the Meeting of Minds. So now I can just slam a Drifter. I feel like I should not have played that. No, it's fine playing the land because I won't have the blue open. So now I can respond to a snap that they have with a snap of my own. So I draw 2. And they respond by snapping the familiar. And drawing 2. No, they prohibit the medium whites, which is totally fine. If they're going to counter my card draw, it's great. I have a lot of card draw. So I draw 2 cards for 0 mana, and I have another card draw that I can use. And their hand must be weak here because they're just casting these Meeting of Minds for full price. Then I can go Drifter, Snap. Then I can go Drifter, Snap, Drifter, Drifter's Ephemerate, draw 10 billion cards, and they're going to fall over and die. Alright, so I think this replay was actually corrupted. So I boarded out 4 Faithfuls. I boarded in... I also boarded out the Strands. I boarded in 2 Negates, 2 Inside Out, and I think that's it. Yeah. I think in the last game I actually boarded in a Hydroblast over the no, the Strands is in my sideboard. This is not a main deck card. I think in the third game I ended up boarding in a Hydroblast over an over the Dawnbreaker Cleric because you can counter Inside Out with Hydroblast. Yeah, I think in this replay they like snap. They like cast Snap targeting Snow-Covered Island, which is like not a legal play. So I'll see if I can show you that. The Magic Online does not often think that, or Magic Online often thinks that weird stuff happened, that it's not possible. All right, so I find a Prohibit or a Cryptomancer, and I don't want either of those. I want either like Familiars or Card Draw. So they evoke. So I think their hand is not that strong either. So I evoke. Sort of breaking off here. So they have a Familiar. I choose to Snap. So if I play, like, they can have 2, they're representing 2 counters here. So I kind of want to play, get the Familiar off the board before I start playing my stuff. And at some point they're going to replay their Familiar, and then I can Inside Out and draw a card. So they go to Snap, and I choose to Flicker to keep the Familiar on the board, which I think is okay. I definitely need a lot to go right for this Flicker to be useful, so yeah. So as you can see on the right, it says they cast Snap targeting Snow-Covered Island, which this is not how the game works. I don't know. I don't even know what happened here, but the replay is not working. They have like floating mana, and I don't know what's going on. Yeah, see, like I float a mana and then pass through a phase and then float, like this doesn't make any sense. But I think I stopped recording this at some point. Skip forward. Yeah. So I do end up losing that game on game 3 on the play. This hand is only 1 land, can't keep that. Bottom of Flicker. This hand is okay. Definitely need to find a Familiar, but find a Preordain, which is good enough. They have their own. So I could just cycle. I feel like that might have been better. Like the longer you wait on the Preordains, the better they get, but I know pretty confidently here that I'm looking for anything that isn't a land. So if I'm an island just trying to thin. So now I'm just going to counter anything they play, except for that, which I can't counter. Cycle. An island. So now they go to draw 2, which I think I'm supposed to counter. I'm not really doing much else. And they missed their land drop and die. And this is why this matchup is terrible. Like, they just happened to miss their 4th land drop and now they're going to lose. I don't know. I guess Meeting of Minds. I think I decided to cycle this Inside Out in response. Because now they can't respond. So they get to draw 2 and they miss their land drop again. And I draw Drifter, so I can go Drifter from right. Alright, so now I just have Snap. I'm just going to hold up Snap in case they go like Familiar into something else. I could Snap on the end step, but I want to, I don't want them to be able to snap my creature in response. And if they go to snap my creature, I can respond by casting Inside Out, targeting their Familiar. So I find another familiar. They go to counter. So now I snap to make mana. So now I can hold up counters going into their turn. Counter back. Have a familiar. I can kill their familiar and have a counter held up. And I'm pretty far ahead here because they missed 2 land drops. So they go to snap. I counter. They counter back. It's not the end of the world. They're pretty low on cards here. I feel like it's pretty hard for me to lose. I definitely have to kill their familiar though if I want to keep playing. Play a familiar. They counter. I definitely was a bit scared here because I feel like that is the way that I lose. If their last card is like a Mold Drifter here and they go like Drifter, Ephemerate or whatever, I could definitely see losing this game despite them missing their 4th land drop and their 5th land drop. They go Drifter, snap. Familiar, Drifter. Oh boy. Flicker. This is like the worst possible punish, but they pick up Meeting of Minds, cast that for free. I'll just please don't have an Ephemerate. Please don't have an Ephemerate because I was going to lose to that. I pick up the Ephemerate, put a Drifter on top, draw 2, play the Drifter. Sorry, the familiar. I snap something, pick up Inside Out, kill their familiar, snap the Mancer, and now I have infinite snaps because I can go flicker these 2, pick up the snap and the flicker, and then flicker their creatures. So they concede. All right, round 6. I'm 4-1. So I'm against Curb, who he said no, so I assumed he was on Turbo Fog. Because Turbo Fog is very bad versus familiars. However, I wasn't actually playing Sage Road Denizen, so he doesn't know that, though, so I was kind of hoping that he would just concede before that became relevant, but... So I discard an Archaeomancer, a bit awkward. They cast pieces of the puzzle. So in game 1, they have like, I don't know, 20-something dead cards because they have Weather the Storms that are dead, all their fogs are dead, and then like half their deck is just rampant card draw. Like their whole deck basically is just rampant card draw. So it's usually not too hard to win game 1. So I draw 2 for 0, cast a Mancer. They decide not to counter, which makes sense because I can counter back. And also Arcane Denial isn't the greatest counter. Play second familiar, put the Mancer on top. Definitely getting there. This setup is significantly worse versus something like Turbo Fog, because I only have 1 flicker in the deck, and I don't have Sages row. I cast Words of Wisdom, draw some cards. I think they're playing around the loose focus, which is kind of funny. Like if they're just not going to spend 6 of their mana, that's totally fine, but I definitely need to find some card draw. I guess I have card draw in this snap, so I'm totally fine. I think Magic Online froze a bit because they foretold a card with the mana here. But I think I just hit play and it fixes it. There you go. They foretell a card and pass. So now I have the Cryptomancer, which is totally useless here. Cast Meeting of Minds, draw 2. Start getting in. Gotta win somehow. Snap the Drifter, replay the Drifter. So you get Oracle. Find Preordain. Can't counter that. I could counter that if I wanted. I think it's fine though. Preordain, find Ephemerate, which is perfect. I need to find my Prohibit, which I only have 1 copy of, but once I find that, it should be pretty easy to win from here. Like, it's really awkward that I can't counter this sort of thing using lose focus. especially since they're sort of playing around it. Discard a Faithful. Now they only have 5 life here, so I only needed to attack with these to play around Tangle. So I guess Moment's Peace. I counter. So now I have access to 3 counters total. So they fog again. I'm thinking, okay, well I'll counter this, and if they weather the storm, I can just counter all the copies with my Lose Focus. So I ephemerate my Archaeomancer. I don't know why I did this. I think this is just bad, because the ephemerate doesn't actually pick up anything. But this is what I did. So they counter the ephemerate. And I lose focus for 4 on the Dispel. What I should have done was counter the Moment's Peace unless they pay 4, and the Dispel unless they pay 4. And there's no way they can win, because if they let the... Like, even if they find a way to counter, or to let this... Even if they find a way to counter the copies that are targeting the Moment's Peace, or the copies that are targeting the Ephemerate, or sorry, the Dispel, the other one will win the game, right? So that was explained poorly. But if this Moment's Peace doesn't resolve, they lose. And if the Ephemerate resolves, they also lose. So, because I can go Ephemerate, return this Lose Focus, and then just counter it again. So I definitely messed up here. Yeah, this is a game-losing mistake, but I don't think it matters. So now they get to Fog. I also could have cast draw spells in my first main phase to try to find more counters, but I only have access to the 2 counters, so I get an Ephemerate, return Prohibit. Another Ephemerate. A Fog. I choose the counter. I guess I choose to draw 2 in response. They counter back. Can't do much about that. Choose to Ephemerate the Archaeomancer, the counter, and then I can just snap and replay the Archaeomancer, pick up Ephemerate, pick up a counter. So now I pick up Lose Focus because if they have the Replicate spell, I can counter a bunch of the copies. Okay, I can put 1 counter spell on each of the copies. So 12 cards in my deck. So they would need Dispel, Dispel, Dispel here. Probably I should have replicated this a 3rd time. Yeah, that's probably a mistake. I mean, there's no way they're going to have Dispel, Dispel, Dispel in game 1, but it's possible. It's possible. Alright, sideboarding. So, I didn't really have any good cards to bring into this matchup. I have 2 negates. Let's see, what else did I have? And that is basically it. Yeah, I mean, I could bring in Hydroblast, but they weren't on the red splash, so that doesn't do anything. The rest of my cards are very bad. So I decided to leave in some Faithfuls to help pay for the Meeting of Minds, and I decided to bring in a Revoke Existence in case they were on either Jace's Erasure or a Relic. Sand is good. The Familiar is the best card versus them because they don't have a way of removing it after it sits in play. So they have Gross Barrel, definitely very strong. But I have Familiar, which is also strong. Second Familiar, pick up my Plains, Words of Wisdom. I don't really know if I should be countering these, but I suppose it's fine. I'm gonna spend my mana, and then get the old each of these. Whoa, I skip back, but let's play this for a second. But when they go Weather the Storm, Countermine, Weather the Storm, they sort of get a 1.5 for 1 for twice. because it gets 3 cards for 2 cards. So it's really not the end of the world. They spent 4 mana to turn their 2 cards into 3. It's really not that good of a deal. Especially compared to what we can do. So they stream without me, trying to hit the Mire. Well, I guess they're not trying to hit the Mire because the Mire's in play. So I don't know what they're doing there, but I guess they're preventing themselves from going to discard is what they're doing. They grow Spiral and negate. I just kind of like throw counters at what they're doing because the only way I lose is if they're able to like snowball card draw. So I go for an Ephemerate, pick up a negate, play the Modern Age, don't need those planes, discard that, cast Preordain. If I'm Meeting of Minds, try to hit a land drop, I do. Sorry, the Archaeomancer. They have Fairy Macabre, which is totally fine. I really think if you have to bring in Fairy Macabre to beat a graveyard deck, you should just not, like you should just give up the matchup, because this card is just so bad. But because like Fairy Macabre does nothing against like Blue-Black Terror, like you're not going to bring it in against that matchup. So like why is it in your deck if it's going to be brought in against Familiars and you're still going to lose? I don't understand, but I do not understand a lot of things. So I evoke a Drifter, Ephemerate, or Snap the Drifter. I can replay it. Draw the Revoke, it's looking real bad. Play another Drifter. Get my beats on. They Grow Spiral and don't hit without a land drop. They play Words of Wisdom, so they drew this Words of Wisdom off the Grow Spiral. I definitely like to use the counters on their cards when they don't have access to Arcane Denial mana, because one of the ways that you lose this matchup is if like they play a spell, you counter, and then they Arcane Denial their own spell, and then they sort of get like a 3-for-1. Or a 4-for-1, right? Because they counter your counter. Well, it's just like a 3-for-1. Cast Pieces. Let's see, they hit Weather and a Fog. It's definitely not the greatest hits for them. Preordain, bottom some lands. Seek Oracle. Meeting of Minds Multi-Drifter seems great. I guess maybe I bottom the Meeting of Minds because I want to try to find flickers and counters and stuff. All this card advantage and they wasted a Weather the Storm. They cast Pieces, I'm gonna counter. They cast Arcane Denial, I'm gonna counter. Cast Loose Focus. So now my idea was I'll cast, like usually what happens in these counter wars is you cast Flicker, target Archaeomancer Island, and then pick up a negate and then cast a negate. But what I should have done is just cast Ghostly Flicker, targeting these 2 islands, and then just pay for the Loose Focus. Because as you can see here, I get blown up by Fairy Macabre. So they get to resolve their Arcane Denial, unfortunately, but they are at 1 card in hand, so not 4, but they pick up the Mire. Definitely not in a great spot. Not in the worst spot either. A lot of their cards are not, like, very good. I know they're one of the cards in Moment's Peace, too. So I put an Archaeomancer on top. No, I put a Seagate Oracle on top, attack with everything. I think I should have saved this Mortuary Mire, because if they use the Deserts on the Archaeomancer, then I can put the Archaeomancer on top for the next turn. It seems a bit more powerful than putting the Seagate Oracle on top, but attack. Fog. And they have to keep wasting cards on the creatures. So you get Oracle, find Archaeomancer, nice. Archaeomancer, pick up a counter. Words of Wisdom, I'll counter. I really don't know if I'm supposed to be countering these, but I decided that I wanted to, so. And now I'm like kind of worried about drawing, like casting this, because I don't want to go too low on cards in my deck, because they'll be able to overload me out. But I decided to cast this to try to find an Ephemerate because I think I have two more of those in the deck. So I do find one. Go to negate. I have a bounce land. So their hand is like, what, a fog and a desert and 2 mystery cards. And they're trying to Ephemerate, which means they don't have a Ferrum Cup. Put a Mancer on top. Play a Mancer, pick up a negate. Ephemerate, pick up a prohibit. So now I have to get through a wall of counters. And they concede. Alright, on to the top 8. So this is a very long round versus, what's his face? Pauper format panel member. I forget his name. Weber. Weber's his name. Play the Modern Age. They're on Blue-Black Terror. So get a counter. I definitely think this version is less set up to beat the Blue-Black Terror deck than the version I was playing in the other events. I guess Preordain, bottom both. This is why I always hold my land drop to the last possible moment, because playing the Chancery is much better than just playing an island and not using the mana. Start with Brainstorm, Thought Scour, to get rid of some excess lands. I find a Snap, definitely my best draw. Now they can't Spell Pierce the Snap, and I get to resolve my Mole Drifter. And okay, so here's the thing. So when I cast Snap, it instantly resolved. So I was like, oh, they're F6'd. They don't have a Spell Pierce or whatever, they're just F6'd. And then I'll just go for Drifter Ephemerate because they're F6'd. But they were not F6'd. They, in fact, had to Snuff Out. What I should have done was just slam the Drifter. I think in a league I'd probably do this again, but against this player I will not do this again. Because they can trick you with by using F6 and F5 to trick you into thinking they pass priority. So now these Meeting of Minds are sort of awkward because I don't have that many creatures in play. But I return Ephemerate. And these terrors are definitely a clock here. Another Snuff Out. Preordain. Find Modern Age. Play that. Or do I go Snap first? Makes sense. Do I find a Drifter? It's like, surely I don't have another Snuff Out as the last card. Surely. And they do. Classic. The old triple Snuff Out, 4 creature draw. The quadruple Snuff Out draw for the win. Alright. On to game 2. Alright, let's go back. So I sideboarded out Meeting of Minds, Lose Focus, Prohibit, and I brought in Prismatic Strands and 2 Negates. The Negates sort of are upgrades on the these counters, and the Prismatic Strand seems better with Meeting of Minds just because they are killing all my creatures, and the I like to use the Prismatic Strands to help me stay alive. Down to 6. This hand is fine as far as 6 is concerned. Definitely can use it like a familiar. I decided to play the Faithful and hold up the gate. I feel like it's pretty likely they're going to play a spell here. I just want to get value out of the Faithful. I play Seagate Oracle, play Undercaymancer, I cast Brainstorm. They don't have a way to draw through it. I don't know why they didn't cast this on their upkeep. I guess they wanted one of the cards, so that's definitely not good news. I'm looking for a Snap here, and I find Snap. Definitely lucky. Slam a Drifter. Play my tap land. They have their snuff out. And they're out of cards with the last angler. I pick up a snap, put the drifter back on top. I'm going down real low here. Definitely not ideal. They draw Thorn of the Black Rose. Pretty damn good top deck. It's actually not that good because I can snap it and take back the Monarchy, but if they had Dispel there, it would have been devastating, but they did not. So attack. I choose to fog in their upkeep. Strands on blue in their upkeep. And I choose to block in case they have fangs. I'm pretty sure they don't, but I think it's pretty free to block here. So they replay the Thorn, get back the Monarchy. I feel like they sequenced that incorrectly, but it's fine. Attack with the Drifter. Figure out how I'm going to pay for this meeting of mines. It's a bit awkward because I can't tap the Faithful because I need to use it to flash back the strands. So, draw Familiar, Arcanemancer. I'm still doing stuff. Definitely feel like I'm behind, but and I choose not to flash back the strands on their upkeep because I need to, like that would lose to a counter and a removal spell. I guess it loses to a counter removal spell regardless because they will just cast their removal spell on their own main phase, but attack. Attack to take back the Monarch. And draw 2. Preordain. Find a Drifter. Slam that. Cast a Snap on the Angler. Preordain. I have a Flicker, so I'm definitely not in a bad spot. So now I can like block and try to Flicker, and then if they don't have a counter, it puts me super far ahead. So they drew Rotten Reunion. I definitely get a bit screwed if they have a counterspell here, but I don't think I'm in actually the worst spot because they sort of were forced to have it, and they concede. So I think I make a pretty big mistake in Game 3, so it'll be interesting to look at that. I think this hand is definitely within the keepable range. It's not like super strong, but they keep 7. And their deck is like a pretty high variance deck, I think, so definitely no shame in losing to this deck. So I cast Preordain, find a Mole Drifter. I think I bought them both, looking for something cheap. They Thought Scour. Terror on turn 3. This is definitely scary. Play Seagate Oracle. Find a Familiar. Attack. So now I think they could have a counter, or they could have a Spell Pierce, but so I could have gone like Island and then snap this and net 0 mana off the snap, but it would play around Spell Pierce, but I was like, ah, screw it. I'll just make my play, and if they have Spell Pierce, they have Spell Pierce. And they did. Going down to 5. They edict me down to 2 cards. So now, I decided not to play this Chancery because I realized that I actually need all of the mana to do what I want to do. Because the Snap nets 1 mana, and the Familiar discounts the Arcane Nets for 1 mana. So yeah, after I play the island, I will have access to 6 mana this turn after the Snap. And I need 3 for the Mancer and 3 for the Strands. Or, I don't know what I'm talking about. It needs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whatever, I did the math right, because I need to hold up the Strands, basically. So they go for it on their upkeep. They spell Pierce. And now I'm just going to block and cast Strands. I definitely wish I had 1 more life. I feel like I'd be so much more comfortable if I had 1 more life. They tap out for an Angler. 1 card left. So this is definitely, I think, the mistake that cost me this game. So I cast Arcane-Mancer. I can either return Preordain or Snap, and if I go for a Snap, I snap the Angler, I chump with an Arcane-Mancer, and then I just have to top deck something good, right? But if I Preordain, I can Preordain and try to find something good off the Preordain. So it definitely makes sense why I made this play, but I think probably what I had to do was just snap this Angler, and then try to get lucky off the top of the deck. I don't know. It could go either way. Because if I find a Flicker off this Preordain, I can like flicker these 2, pick something up, or I can even like try to flicker in combat. Like I can block here, flicker Arcane-Mancer Island, or I can block the Terror with the Arcane-Mancer, the Angler with the Arcane-Mancer. Before damage, flicker Arcane-Mancer Island, return flicker, flicker Arcane-Mancer Island, return flicker. It takes 0 damage from combat. That being said, I only have 1 flicker in my deck. So it's definitely an interesting decision whether or not I should have picked up the Snap or the Preordain, because I also could have gone like block and snap my own Arcane-Mancer, although that seems weak. I think it's better to just snap the Angler and force them to spend their turn replaying it. Because, yeah, I don't know, it's rough. So I find 2 Mulldrifters, which is okay. So now I can evoke the Drifter, draw 2. It definitely would have worked out better had I picked up a Snap, but obviously you never know. Like, it could be there was 2 lands on top of my deck, and after going for the Snap, I would have definitely regretted not playing the Preordain. So, was it a mistake? Was it not a mistake? I don't know. Because now I have to double jump, which is really bad. And now they get to cast this rather than replaying their Angler. Agony Warp. Yeah, this is really bad. I don't know if it was a mistake, but it definitely did not work out. Because now I have to jump again. They draw DA, which is like their best card by far. So I jump. Draw 2. I'm bottoming both, looking for like another Fam. Well, I think I keep the Modern Age because I have all these dead cards I can get rid of. Another land, it's not good. Not good at all. At this point they've drawn so many cards, so like it's definitely not a great spot to be in. If I negate, so let's see what happened here. Chumped. So now they upkeep. Kill the Mulldrifter. If this snap was just 1 card higher, I could have snapped in response, and I probably would have won this game. But it was not. I guess Meeting of Minds. Find a Mulldrifter. Snap the Angler. Put a Mancer on top. Cast a Drifter. And they counter. And now I'm pretty dead. So I have to jump again. And next turn I'm just drawing an Arcane-Mancer, which is decent, but there's no Ephemerate in the graveyard, so. Or is there? Yeah, there's not. And they're drawing a million cards every turn. it. So I return Preordain, gotta find something good. Find an Ephemerate, which is good enough, because then I can go block the Terror with the Archaeomancer, flicker the Archaeomancer before damage, pick up a snap, snap the Angler before damage. This all assumes they have absolutely nothing, but definitely not in a good spot, so. They brainstorm, they snuff out. I block. Ephemerate, they dispel, and I'm dead. I type GG, and that ends my run. So this was the quarterfinals. So I don't know, maybe the not picking up the snap was a mistake, but I think it makes sense what I did, especially since like a good percentage of the time the top of my deck is just going to be nothing, and the Preordain is going to greatly improve the quality of my next draws. I'm not sure. Anyways, thank you for watching. I also have some replays of some previous challenges from the previous weekend that I could go over, but I feel like it's sort of old news now that there's the new cards out, so I wanted to post a video with the new cards. I definitely feel like the deck could be improved, so if you have suggestions, that's awesome. I would love to hear them. I'm working on trying to make the deck better. Thank you for watching.